One. Hi, I'm Josh,
And I'm Adrian.
and today we are on episode 21 of Big Brother Still. I
Okay,
completely,
let's switch it up a little bit.
I completely messed it up. Yeah, I was trying. I don't know what I did there.
It's fine. People who are watching this should already know our intros, so it's all right. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'll say you already told us that we're on episode 21, but I'm gonna say my opening line anyways. But today
Right.
we're spilling on episode 21, which brings us to the veto competition of Sarah Beth's HOH reign. The episode jumps right in as we start at the High Rollers meeting, where Alyssa is upset over being the cause of Xavier being placed on the block.
Mhm.
If you remember last episode, she won the power. She was the only person that played, won, took Derek F off the block, then named a replacement nominee, and it happened to be Xavier by chance.
Right.
So she's in the room crying. I think this is the first time that we see Alyssa cry in this whole season.
Yeah. I think because
So-
I think it was probably because she felt a little bit like, not to be mean, but she probably felt a little bit dumb. Like that was the one person that she didn't want to be put up, and that's the one person that was put up. You know,
Right.
so you just
So
feel
you know that
embarrassed.
means something to her. If we saw her cry, it actually means something to her.
Right.
So
Just an FYI before we move forward. Once we finish this list, is gonna be a little bit all over the place. So just an FYI.
wow. Well,
Yeah. Okay.
So we move on. We're still right after the High Rollers meeting. Xavier is also upset, but he's not upset at Alyssa. He's upset because he was working really hard to never touch the block, and now he's on the block by a game of chance. Like he had no control over it. It was meant for him to be on the block.
Right.
So he's a little upset about that. Claire is upset because she's still on the block. Like she wasn't the one removed, but she feels like being up against Xavier is her best chance of staying in the house because he's a threat physically, and she said that he's a threat socially. So she feels like she has a good chance of staying in the house if she's on the block next to Xavier come Thursday. I think the only person that's
though.
right, and we do see a little different side of Claire this episode, which kind of made her gain some points on my end. But we'll get there when we get there, and I'll explain a little bit on that. But I think the only person who is happy about this High Rollers meeting is Sarah Beth, because the power was used, which is what she wanted, and Derek X wasn't chosen as the replacement because she wants to backdoor him. So she doesn't want him to get chosen to be on the block and him be able to play veto.
Right.
We're moving on. Derek X is also happy about the High Rollers meeting because he doesn't know what's about to happen, but he's happy that he didn't play the game and he thinks that he can trust Sarah Beth on not putting him up. Unfortunately, he doesn't know what's about to happen in his case.
Claire is the one that found out about that, right? And how did she find out?
Find out about what? I'm sorry.
Didn't she find out that Derek X was possibly the backdoor plan, and then she went to go tell him?
Yes. We're about to get there, and I'll explain how she figures it out. It's kind of smart, actually.
Right. Okay. Sorry. Okay.
So right after this whole meeting with the High Rollers, we do get to see a little bit further into Alyssa's upsetness over putting Xavier on the block. She is upset. She's visibly upset. She's crying. She's telling Xavier that she wished she didn't play. And Xavier is just trying to cheer her up by explaining to her, hey, I still have veto. It's not done for me. I'm going to gun for the veto. I'm going to get myself off.
Right.
So he's just trying to do whatever he can to get Alyssa to not be crying. So this is when we find out how Claire figures out what's going on. Because she goes and talks to Sarah Beth in the HOH room, and she's asking her what her plan is regarding the veto. If she wants it to be used, if she just wants nominations to stay the same. And Sarah Beth does a very great job throughout the whole episode, not exposing her cards. She answers her questions correctly. So she
Mhm.
keeps people wondering, what am I gonna do? But she does tell Claire, I do want the veto used, but doesn't say who she's gonna put up. And she says, I don't know who I'm gonna replace yet, but I know that I want you to stay. So Claire
We
starts thinking.
right. Just
Um,
really quick. This is Sarah Beth. Honestly, like her HOH kind of disappointed me, if I'm honest, just because she could have definitely done something bigger than what she's doing. And like something that I've learned through these orgs that we've been playing is whenever you're in power, it's always better for you to kind of keep some people in the loop of what you want to do instead of just keeping no one, because she's literally like a question mark right now. No one like if she's not even really telling who's gonna like go up, like it's just like what? Like
no, it actually makes sense. I'm not mad at her. I am mad at her HOH. I will put that out there. But you think she's not telling anybody what she's doing, and she is. She's telling Kyland, and she also tells Alyssa further in the episode, and I'll get into that. But she's not completely shutting people out. She's shutting out people that she knows she can't tell.
well, okay,
What
so
she's
then
doing.
maybe you understand it more, but like so then what's the reason of telling Claire that she does want to use the veto, but she doesn't know who she's gonna put up against her? Like why not just say, hey, I'm gonna keep it sane, but you're the pawn? Like why would she put that little
And
doubt in her mind?
I'm so sorry. Let me backtrack a little bit, because after you said what you just said, I had to reread my note. She does not tell Claire that she wants the veto to be used. My note
Okay.
says, she says in Sarah, my note says Sarah Beth and Claire talk. She says in confessional that Claire is not the target, but won't tell her. She also doesn't tell Claire that she tells Claire she doesn't know what to do with the veto, but she does tell her, I want you to stay in the house. So that's when Claire starts thinking, and she's like, there's only if she doesn't want me to go home, and she's upset about Xavier touching the block, that means she's probably going to use the veto,
Mm-hmm.
and she's probably has a target. And the three major targets are Xavier, which she already said, I'm upset he's on the block, so that takes him off. Kyland, and obviously we know that her and Kyland are close, so she's not going to target Kyland. So that only left Derek X. So she kind of did a process of elimination on the big targets, and she realized she's not telling me because I'm close to Derek X.
That's
Derek X is
right.
going to be.
That's
So she
right.
kind of,
Yeah.
it's very smart how she did it.
Yeah, you're right.
So right after she talks to Sarah Beth, and she doesn't really get a definite answer on who the target is, but she already knows. She goes and talks to Derek X, and they talk about the conversation that she just had with Sarah Beth, and she kind of tells him, hey, she didn't tell me who the target is. She was very vague on what she told me, but I'm almost sure she's going to target both me and you, so you're probably going to go up as replacement. Which this throws Derek X into a loop, because as you know earlier, he said, I feel safe with Sarah Beth, but now he's hearing these things with Claire, and he's like, yep, she's possibly correct. Sarah Beth does look like she's going to come after me.
But
During
see,
this
that's like
conversation,
sorry, just really quick. I was just gonna say, like, I don't. Sarah Beth again. She like if I was Claire as the nominee, and I approached the HOH about what's happening, and the HOH is being very fishy about what she's telling me or he's telling me, that's not going to remove the target off of Sarah Beth come next week. I don't think Sarah Beth is thinking way in advance, and that's her downfall. Like if Claire is not your target, you need to establish some kind of trust on Claire, because next week you can't play HOH. Claire can't. If Claire wins HOH, you're gonna go up. So why not establish some kind of trust? Be like, hey, look, watch, let me be open with you. Like, just come clean about Derek X. Who cares? Fuck it. Or just lie and be like, you guys are both like, just lie to her and be like, okay, Xavier, as of right now, Xavier is the target, it seems like. And that's what I've heard. I don't know. And then if once the veto is played, if she's able to put up Derek X, then at that point she can come clean to Claire. But she's like literally leaving Claire on the dark completely.
right, she did have some negative sides on her HOH. I mean, her whole HOH, unfortunately,
Mhm.
is a
Absolutely.
letdown.
Right.
Like she did what we were hoping. She kind of went along with the Cookout Alliance, even though she's not aware of it. It was a letdown. I'm not gonna say that it wasn't, because it was, and she definitely did do some mistakes. I'm only saying that whenever she needs to hide things, she does very well at it.
Yeah, somewhat.
So that's my opinion on it. Doesn't
Right.
really match. We're not gonna have an argument over this, but
Right.
so we're gonna so when during the conversation between Derek X and Claire, where Claire's telling him you're probably the replacement, Tiffany walks in and she's trying to figure out what they're talking about. She kind of acts dumb, like she doesn't know what's going on. She then gets clarification that Sarah Beth is possibly targeting Derek X as a backdoor,
Mhm.
which you would think that Claire would be happy about this because Derek Hicks is a target of the cookout, but she does tell the viewers that she's upset about it because Derek X and Claire are her closest allies outside of the cookout,
Mhm.
and that she doesn't want to lose either one of them.
Right.
Uh,
But then who
uh,
would she want though?
that's her problem. Is I know they're close to me, but at this point, there's not another choice. Like these are
Right.
my choices. So
Right.
she kind of just stays quiet about it. She does tell us that she's not okay with it, but like she's upset about it. Um, so then the next conversation that we see in the episode is Sarah Beth and Alyssa. They're talking about the veto competition. Um, this is when she kind of opens up about her plans because Alyssa asks her, what do you want to happen with the veto? Do you want it to be used? Do you want it not to be used? And Sarah Beth goes, I'm only going to tell you because I trust you and I hope this stays between us. But I do want the veto to be used because I want to backdoor Derek X. And Alyssa gets a giant smile on her face. She can't even hide it. And she goes, I'm 100% on this plan. He was going to be my target as well. I really want to backdoor him because he backdoored Christian. So she's trying to get a little revenge on Derek X. So she says that she's planning to go on the veto if she gets picked for veto, that she would go full force for the veto to make sure that this backdoor happens because she's fully on board. Um, so at this point, her plans, Sarah Beth's plans, are kind of going to plan whether we like them or not. Um,
But I don't know if we talked about it last time, but so what is the reason why Sarah Beth wants Derek X out? Is it because he wins a lot of stuff? Is that the reason why?
Sarah Beth is made believe by Kyland, that Derek X is coming after her
Because of Hanoi?
because of
I don't.
Kyland.
Right, but what I'm saying is like if Kylan told me this, I mean, okay, maybe it's because Sarah Beth's obviously closer to Kylan, but if I have like Kylan on the bed hugging me and telling me that Derek X is coming for me, I would be like, well, but why though? I haven't won anything. Like if I was Sarah Beth, like even though I'd be like, oh yeah, Kylan, like I don't know, like I just feel like she's maybe like, I don't know, I just don't understand. Like where would she just be like, Derek X is coming for me?
Right.
Why?
And I think back to our situations, we play orgs. So we kind of have a similar mindset as the actual players of this game.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever somebody tells you this person is coming after you, and by experience, me telling you this person is coming up to you, you hesitate and you question why. Like just right now, you're like, if I was Sarah Beth, I'd be like, why? I haven't won anything. Some people just go after people just because.
Yeah, but I mean, unless there's proof, then it's kind of hard for me to just believe it. Like for example, like
Right.
if I was told that, then I'd be like, well, first of all, I would have to hear from more people than just Kyler. And like I don't know if Sarah Beth did hear from other people, but I don't know. If I was Sarah Beth, I would not assume that Derek X was coming for me specifically. I would assume that Derek X was eventually going to go for one of the guys because they're all strong and they're all like competitors and all that stuff. Like Sarah Beth isn't really a threat physically, at least until like before this last reign, because like now she's doing a little bit better. But like if I would start Beth and be like, why would Derek X come for me though? Like I really would
I
want to
see it
know.
differently. I see it differently because you have a different mindset. If my final two, or the person that I thought was my final two, came up to me and I'm HOH and they're like, hey, look, and we have this level of trust, which Sarah Beth thinks that she does have this level of trust with Kyland. And Kyland tells me, hey, I really do think that Derek X is coming after you. He's going to be your better choice. I'm going to full force believe my final two that in this trust that we have.
I mean, I would to a certain extent, but I would still want to figure out if that's what other people are telling me. Like, I wouldn't just base it off of one person. I would base it off of multiple people. Like, if I hear it at least from like, there's 10 of them.
But then
If I
it
hear
comes
from like
to
at least
a
3,
question is, do you trust your final two? Because if your
right.
final two comes and tells you something, but yet you still have to hear it from other people, like, did you really trust your final two?
Well, but then it's also, are you really playing Big Brother though? Should you trust everybody like that?
No, but you should really trust your final two.
Not really.
At
Not
least
like
your
that.
final two.
Definitely
I think
not.
so. I think so. That's why we're
No,
different.
we're definitely different.
Because I
Yeah,
would trust
definitely.
my final two.
I would trust them to a certain extent. I wouldn't put my whole life on them. I would trust
So
them to a
this is
certain
just
degree.
basically telling me that if we ever play another org together and you're my final two, I shouldn't fully trust you.
Right. Because at the end of the day, there's only one winner. There's only one winner. So it's a
There's
game.
only one winner, but whenever you would establish a final two is because you want to go to the final two with them, not make them believe you're final two until you're like, no, this is the time to cut you. Like, that's just different to me.
Adrian, do you really want to have a history lesson here? Because I could have sworn that the first time we played together, I trusted you and someone else that we're not going to name as our final three. And what did you guys do? Betrayed me. So let's not even go there. I learned my lesson that I'm not going to trust anybody.
But if I do recall that season that we played together, I did have a final two and I did trust my final two. And unfortunately, at that moment, my final two was not you.
Right, but I had a final three, and both of my final three people betrayed me, like week one. So
there's a difference between a final two and a final three in an alliance.
Well, we're not going to get there, but last time I remembered, your final two also betrayed you. So
right.
So,
and that was a huge mess. That was a huge mess, and Adrian went in a like spiral, chaotic mode because of final two. See, this is my problem. I trust the person, even though they're final twos, and when they betray me, I hate you for the rest of your life.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, then what's the point of even having that expectation that you should trust this person 100% when there's a high chance that they're going to betray you?
I've played other games, and the final two hasn't. The only final two that has backstabbed me is that fucking bastard. But other than that,
have you won any orgs though? Has that little final two little mindset got into the final?
I mean, really close, and we moving on with Big Brother.
Moving
23.
on, we'll move on. Yeah.
Wow, that was like, I'm in shock that you would even bring the bastard up.
That was you.
I didn't, bro.
You are talking about how like we should trust someone 100%. I'm like, I didn't just trust one person, I trusted two, and it backfired on me. So after that, I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna promise everybody 80% trust, not 100% ever again. Not in these games.
Anyways, so later in the episode, we see Derek X talk to Sarah Beth, and he is trying to find out whether, if not, Sarah Beth is really targeting him or not. And this is again the part of Sarah Beth where she does a really good job in hiding things. Because even though he's asking the perfect questions and he's very careful at asking these questions to try to get the information, Sarah Beth is very smartly answering these questions. Because even though she does answer his questions, like he's like, Claire told me that she might pick me for house guest choice. I'm gonna go up. Like, what would you like me to do with it? Are you okay with me being house guest choice? And she goes, yeah, that's fine. Like, I don't care. And she says it with such like a
confident,
straight face and confident that it's believable.
It's believable. So I was just gonna say, I feel like, okay, now that you mentioned that, Sarah is unfortunately a victim of her own devices. I don't know if you know exactly what that means. So pretty much, she has the smarts and she has the right idea of everything that's happening. And now that I think about it, I can see why she's targeting Derek X. Because I do remember the last time when he was up, he did put her up. And then they try to have that little conversation in that one room. And she was purposely being awkward, waiting for him to be the first one to speak up. And so this time around, Derek X is like, okay, I'm gonna be very smart with my answers. And Sarah Beth's gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna be very smart with the way I say things or the stuff that I release. And I think that's why they're both kind of like, if we're final two, it's gonna be fucking insane because I cannot read you. They can't read each other. And the thing that sucks about that is that if only they would work together and maybe kind of advance themselves a little bit forward, then they'd be able to do really good and a lot of damage. But unfortunately, Sarah Beth or Derek X don't see that. And the common person that they should be targeting is Tiffany, and Tiffany is spot free. Because who's the number one person that's targeting is Sarah Beth? Tiffany. Derek X really isn't targeting Sarah Beth. But Sarah Beth is under the assumption that he is because she sees that he is very smart. So I feel like Sarah Beth is kind of like torn between knowing that Derek X is a big player, and she also feels like Tiffany is a strong player, but for some reason she feels like Derek X is like the worst of the two, when in reality, Tiffany is the worst. Like Tiffany should be the one going home. Like, I don't know. I'm telling you, when we see these rankings, I'm gonna like, it's just crazy how Tiffany like is not even like being looked at by Sarah Beth when literally Tiffany even said, I've been targeting this girl for the last 4 weeks and she now is HOH. Sarah Beth, where have you been the last month? How have you not been able to figure this out?
We will have another argument if you take Sarah Beth off first place. I'm letting you know right now.
Well, I'm just telling you that she's lacking. She's slipping a little bit. I thought she was doing really good.
If you
but right
remove
now,
her from first or second place, we are going to have another argument. Moving on. So conversation between Derek X and Sarah Beth ends with Derek X not getting any type of answers. He even says in his DR, I get nothing from this girl. She's just so hard. I don't understand her. I don't trust her. So at this point, he's kind of understanding. I'm probably going to be the back door. So then he goes and talks to Hannah, and Hannah kind of confirms it. Not flat out, but she kind of does flat out tell him, no matter who comes off the block, if Xavier wins a veto, you're going up. If Claire wins the veto, you are going up. And she goes, the only way you're going to ensure your safety is if you get picked for veto and you win. Mm-hmm. Other than that, you're going to see the block. And she was kind of straight up and honest. She kind of talks about feeling bad for convincing Derek X not to play the competition, the high rollers comp. I don't remember this conversation ever taking place. It probably just didn't make the edit, but she is telling the viewers that she feels bad for making him skip out on the comp. And now that she's just telling him the truth in order to make it up to him. So she kind of just tells him, you will go up, but this is what you need to do to remain safe.
Right.
So we go into commercial, we come back, and it's time to pick the veto players. Obviously, we already know Sarah Beth, Claire, and Xavier are playing because they're HOH.
I was going to say something really, really, really quick. That little piece where Hannah is being straight up with Derek X, telling him like, hey, this is what's going on, is a strategic move that Sarah Beth should be doing with a lot of people. Because Hannah is thinking, okay, you know what? More than likely, Derek X might go home this next round and it fucking sucks. But if for some reason, somehow the votes flip, I already told him what the original plan was. So if he does stay, me and him are still like a duo. We're still trusting each other. And I feel like that's the kind of shit that you need to do with a lot of these players. Like, I feel like, especially the HOAs literally have to go around every single person and think about, okay, this person could potentially win HOH next round. How do I secure myself to not be put up the next round? Sarah Beth is not doing that. She's really not. She can be talking to Hannah. She can be talking to Claire. Like, these people are not going anywhere. They can literally win next HOH. And Sarah Beth has not tried to save face in any way, shape, or form for the next round. And that, I think that's where she's like fucking up, honestly.
Yeah, well, we do know that she's making mistakes, but
yeah.
Going back into this veto play, picking of players, we already know Sarah Beth, Claire, and Xavier playing because it's HOH 2 nominees. Mm-hmm. Then we get Azah, Derek F, and Alyssa, which get picked by the draw. So Aza in between the picks tells the viewers that she wants to win so she can take Xavier off to keep all members of the cookout off the block, which I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's not possible because there has to be a replacement. Sarah Beth is HOH, she can't be sitting on the block, and she's not in the cookout. Claire's already on the block, she's not part of the cookout, and then Derek X is not part of the cookout. So who else does she want replied? I didn't get it. Claire wants Derek X to be picked because she feels like he would take her off the block because they are allies. Fortunately, Derek X does not get picked. And then Xavier wants Alyssa to be picked because he knows she would take him down because she already feels bad. And she does get picked. Right after the picking of players, we see a little bit more in detail of Derek X. He's very upset talking to Claire. And he knows that since he didn't get picked for veto, he has no shot at safety. There's no way for him to defend himself.
Right.
So he's kind of already accepting the fact that he's going to go up, like regardless. Like he's going to go
up.
Yeah. This is when I see a little part of Claire that made her gain points in my eyes. Claire opens up. She's in tears. To this moment, I had not seen Claire cry. Right. Claire is like super emotional because she doesn't want to sit next to Derek X because they're allies. She doesn't want to go home, but she doesn't want Derek X to go home either. And if they're placed on the block together, one of them is bound to get evicted. And she's just very like emotional about it. I know that I was getting mad whenever it was time for Brittany and Brittany was crying, but Brittany was just crying for attention. Like Claire and Hannah have cried this episode because they actually have a meaning for it. Like they're emotional because something that they truly don't want to happen is happening. And that she's opening up. And I like that about Claire. Like she's not like fake about it.
Yeah.
So she does gain a little points in my book. The HOH comp, I didn't take any notes on the HOH comp. Honestly, main point of the of the veto comp, there's rewards, money. If you use certain rewards, you can win money.
Right.
And there's punishments.
Right.
You have to use at least 3 punishments to win. You can't skip out on the punishments. It was one of those dominoes.
Right.
It was a dominoes where you have to like put them in order, push them,
right.
And it has to go a domino effect.
Right.
And it was whoever wins the fastest. Well, Xavier was smart and not smart on it, in my opinion, because he did take the shortest way there and won the power of veto, but then he also chose some punishments that aren't that smart. He chose to give up all his BB money. He chose to go to solitary confinement for 24 hours, which that doesn't really mean anything. He's good. But then he also placed himself as a 3rd nominee for coming up next week. The whole point of you wanting to win this veto comp was to remove yourself from the block, but you're still placing yourself on the block next week. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
I think maybe he feels a little more obviously he feels more comfortable if he's up against 2 other people instead of just one. And I think that he's probably just like, you know what, fuck it. And like if I'm gonna be put up on the block without really me being put up on the block, might as well just do whatever I can to get myself off the block, even if that means for me to be the 3rd nominee. He's like, you know what, like I have the control. Xavier is a control freak. Like he's an attorney, so he likes to be in control of things. So because he had no control over the last nomination or replacement, whatever, he came into this veto and thinking I have to win no matter what. And then, you know, as he's going through the domino thing, he's like, if I'm the 3rd nominee, then that's on me. It's not because someone nominated me. I think that's like where he's coming from.
Okay, so where I'm thinking is as a bad negative type way, excuse me, is we're down to not that many non-cookout members left. You're already on the block as a 3rd nominee. I know it's kind of a long shot. Derek X, I'm going to make my prediction now. I'm going to predict Derek X is going to get voted out. So I'm looking further without Derek X.
Right.
We know Sarah Beth can't play, obviously.
Right. Right.
But who is to say that Claire doesn't win HOH? Then she doesn't have that many options. So the people who are going to be on the block are cookout members. I know that they're going to play Sarah Beth for veto or on the nominations. Okay, but who's to say Sarah Beth doesn't win veto? Then it's nothing but cookout members left, and Xavier put himself on the block next to cookout members. And then he's in trouble because the other cookout members could be like, okay, now we think about the further than the 6. Who is the strongest of this alliance? And he just put himself on the block, and now he has a potential to go home. That's the way I'm seeing it. I don't really think he thought it through. I think he thinks that he still sees people outside of the cookout still in the house, and he's not fully grasping. You're right. Well, he is a lawyer, and he wants to control the fact that he's on the block and he wants to remove himself. But I think that's what influenced him the most, that he really didn't see going further. He saw this week.
I could see that. And he definitely did think this week. But then I mean, yeah, you're right. He did not think it all the way through. And I mean, I not to be biased or anything like that, but I really cannot blame him, because if you're playing the veto and you're trying to get the fastest time, you're under pressure, you're really just thinking, I want to win veto. Like, you're not thinking that far in advance. Like, there's just no time for you to think that far ahead. Like, I mean, maybe there is if you're like a genius or something, but like, I don't think he's able to have enough time for him to be like, okay, if I do this. Like, he's just thinking, I'm safe this week, I can still win HOH next week, then I won't even be up. So then, like, he's good. But yeah, he did not think about the other possibilities. But at the same time, I do feel, and like we've been saying, the Cookout Alliance is based off of the top 3, which is Kyland, Xavier, and Tiffany. And then we have Azal and Derek F at the bottom. If, let's say Claire, like if Claire wins HOH, like you said, I don't think that she's going to, I mean, she might. Worst case scenario would be for her to put up like, yeah, but okay, but worst case scenario would be for her to put up Kyland, Tiffany, and Xavier, and then Veto doesn't get one. They're all up on the block. Okay, then yeah, he's in trouble. But that's a very like gray area. I don't think she'll put up Tiffany. She might put up Kyland, Xavier, and Derek F. Well, I'm pretty sure Derek F would be the one to go at that point. I don't know. I just feel like.
But I also don't think that she's going to put up Derek F because they're kind of close.
Well, then maybe she'll put up Azal, or you don't think she would put up Azal either?
I don't think so either. I think if you really notice it, I think that Claire is a little bit closer. I know she's close to Tiffany, so I don't see her putting up Tiffany at all.
Right.
At all.
Right. Right.
So she doesn't have that many options left. I know that she doesn't trust Kyland, so Kyland would be on the block.
Right.
She said I think it would be
Kyland, Xavier, and maybe Sarah Beth just to get her back. In that case, the Cookout still has a lot of votes. They have 3 votes. I'm pretty sure they're going to use those votes to get rid of Sarah Beth. So Xavier,
right. Assuming Sarah Beth doesn't win veto. I'm talking about if Sarah Beth wins veto. Then another Cookout member gets placed, and now it's like, who's the bigger target? I know it's a long shot. I know it's a very big long shot. But it's still an option. It's a possibility. It's too far of a. He still should have thought of that.
Sorry, you broke up. Like you were kind of lagging there, so I couldn't. I heard what you said, but your video was like lagging, so I don't know what happened. But yeah, I mean, it's a long shot. We'll see how it goes, because I just feel like he still seems comfortable. So it is what it is.
So we're gonna move on a little bit.
Yep.
So after Xavier wins, Claire is upset because now she knows Derek X is gonna go up. I'm gonna be placed next to the block, next to Derek X. And it's gonna be very hard for me to campaign against him because he's my number 1 ally. I don't want him to leave. Derek X is obviously emotional too because he knows everything went wrong for him this week. He had no chance of saving himself. He's gonna go up on the block. This is where I have big, strong opinions and I get mad. I don't know if it's going to anger you or you're going to think the same. Apparently you aren't because we've been arguing about stuff. But I want to know your input. Tiffany is upset at the fact that Derek X is going to go up on the block next to Tiffany. She's upset because they're her closest allies in the house. So she needs to find a way to not let this happen. This pisses me off because now she's like, I need to do whatever is possible. The cookout really doesn't matter right now because these are my allies. But what happened several weeks ago when Ozza was telling you, I don't want Brittany to go on the block because she's my closest ally, and Tiffany was like, it doesn't matter. We're only thinking about the cookout. The cookout is what matters. Like, we are playing a game where we're going to evict our friends. But now that her friends are on the block, she's like, I have to think about my allies or the cookout. Like, now it's suddenly okay. Like, don't be a two-faced person.
Well,
and now when it's inconvenient for you, now you're just like, I can't let this happen. But when other people were telling you, I don't want this to happen, you're like, I don't care.
But again, you can't hate on that because she, like, at the end of the day, this is what, okay, yes, you can. But people have different opinions and different feelings and whatever. People get confused of what the game is about. People do get caught up on, people being selfish and only think about themselves. And it's like, okay, yes, it's villainous, it's bad. In real life, being a selfish person is bad. But you are playing a game. Tiffany is taking the people that are most convenient to her. There's nothing wrong with that in this game because, like, Derek X and Claire are more convenient to her than Derek F or Azal at this point. And she recognizes that at this point. She's not thinking, oh, like, she's literally like in the middle of this whole thing, and then everybody else is covering her. And she just has to kind of pick.
That's what pisses me off. Because when other people, okay, I get it's game move, but when some other people try to do that because it was better for them and their game, Tiffany was having a major meltdown for it. Do you understand what I'm talking about? It's like other people can't think of their own game, but she can. And it's annoying to me.
Right. It is. It is annoying. If I was in the house and I saw that, that would be one of the things
I would throw a punch her. Just plain and simple.
I would use it as a reason to target her. I wouldn't be like, oh, like, that's like, I would use it against her, but like if we're like here looking at the game from like a different perspective, we're not in the game, I can't hate it because that's a smart move. If I was in the game and I was playing with her and I saw that she was doing that, yeah, of course I'm gonna be upset, and of course I'm gonna try to use it against her. But if I'm seeing it like as a viewer, that's a very strategic move. I wish I could do that. I would do that if I was in the house.
I don't. And I would be having the same opinions that I have now about Tiffany, even though we're like best friends. But I would still be like, you'll get out of this house, and I would get on a Zoom call and be like, what was that all about? Like, what was going through your mind? Like,
yeah,
I don't like it. I knew we were gonna have a little bit of an argument. It's just how these calls go sometimes. Like, as the game is going, we used to be like, oh, I agree with you. Yeah, you're right. Now it's just like, no.
Nope.
This is how I see it, and this is how you see it. Like,
right. That's the fun of it, though.
It's good, though. It's good. So right after all that conversations, Tiffany and her selfish moves, they reach a little point of the episode, which it's nice. They get to help the American Red Cross in making some type of bags and stuff like that. It's cool. It's nice to see they're helping out a charity. I didn't care for it. It was annoying. It was boring. Even the confessionals where they're talking about what they're doing, they seemed very scripted. The house guests didn't seem to be enjoying what they were doing. It was like Big Brother told him, hey, you have to do this for the show. This is what you have to say. It looked very scripted. It was very annoying to watch. I didn't even pay attention to it. I know that there was some like emotional conversations. And let me just put this out there. I like the game of Big Brother. I really do. I know that there's a lot of issues going on in the world. I get that. I do not like when the house guys make it political or they make it like try to make it emotional. I don't like that. It's annoying. Like, just don't do it. So this whole American Red Cross thing, I thank them for helping out a charity or an organization. I didn't care to see it. They could have done that on their spare time and not put air time to it. Right after that, Derek X talks to Tiffany, and they're talking about possible ways to save Derek X from hitting the block. Tiffany tells him that it would be better, since she already knows Sarah Beth has already targeted Hannah in the past, to convince her that it would be a better choice to put Hannah on the block, and that he would know she would get evicted in order for him not to touch the block. Tiffany then talks to Hannah, and they call Hannah Chada. I don't know where that came from.
That's her last name.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So just FYI, we're like just FYI at 7:56. We probably have to like wrap it up pretty soon. Tell me about that.
Oh, well. Anyways, so even Hannah is okay with being put as a pawn, in all hopes to get Claire evicted and save Derek X. I feel like Claire, when the season's over, I feel like all these people are going to be mad at each other when they see the show, because Tiffany just said, I like Claire, but she's not beneficial to me, and I'd rather keep Derek X. Like, they're harsh in their confessionals. And I feel when they see this season, a lot of people are not going to like Tiffany. Like, a lot of people are not.
That is her downfall. She's not doing any type of jury management right now. She's not thinking about jury. That's her downfall.
That is true. I don't think any of the Cookout members are thinking about jury. Like, all the Cookout members were just thinking about targeting specific people, but they weren't really thinking these people are going to be in jury.
Right. And that's actually because a lot of these people are very emotional. A lot of people are very emotional. I wasn't even thinking about that. And I feel like they're gonna, like, whenever they get eliminated, they're gonna vote with their heart. They're not gonna vote with strategy. Azar, Derek F, Brittany, they're not gonna vote with whoever played the most strategic game. They're gonna vote with whoever they felt like was the least betrayer of the bunch. Which sucks for them, because
I have a question. I have a question regarding jury. In the actual Big Brother game, not org-wise. Do they have a way to look at the gameplay?
Yeah.
Because I know whenever they're talking to Julie doesn't confirm yes or no because they're in jury. But do they get like special previews in the house that they're in? Like, this is what happens. I know that when another person arrives in jury, they kind of do like a. But other than that, do they show them anything else?
No, because no, they just show them like the last episode or whatever, just like as a recap. But I mean, whoever left the house the last, like, is the one that has all the tea about everything. They're like, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happens. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Interesting. So yeah, like I said, a lot of people are going to be upset with Tiffany because of the things that Tiffany says. Tiffany has made up her mind. She's okay with losing Claire over Derek X. So then Derek X goes talks to Sarah Beth and tells Sarah Beth, hey, I'll keep you safe for the next 2 to 3 weeks if you don't put me on the block. It'll be better if you put out Hannah on the block because we can get her voted out. Sarah Beth goes, I have a hard time trusting people, so I don't know if I can trust you on this.
Right, definitely not.
But if you make sure that Hannah gets evicted if she touches the block, then I'll go ahead and take that option. And then Derek X tells her, yeah, she can get evicted. Unfortunately for Derek X, it doesn't work. As soon as he leaves the room, she's like, you're still my target.
Right.
Good points, but you're still my target. At the end, we end the episode at the power of veto. We know Xavier's obviously going to use it on himself. He removes himself from the block, and Sarah Beth does what the whole episode was about, as putting Derek X as the replacement. So final noms for tomorrow are Derek X and Claire. My prediction is Derek X is getting voted out.
For sure. Yeah, unfortunately, but it is what it is.
I'm very curious about your list, so I'm going to let you go first.
Okay. Take a breather, take some water. I'm just kidding, but no, seriously.
Because I already feel like we're about to argue, so I need to.
I know. So, wait, I just realized we have what? Do we have 9 or 10 left?
I think we have 10.
What am I missing? I'm missing someone.
Claire.
Oh, of course, I'm missing her. No, surprisingly, it was not her. It was the other person that I usually miss. Okay.
Hannah?
The other person.
I don't know.
All right, so at the bottom of the list, I have Derek F. Derek F. Again, it's just forgettable. I feel like I'm a repeated, like a broken record with him at this point. I said the same thing about him every single time. So no more explanation. It's just, it is what it is. Hannah is right up above him because at this point I'm getting kind of the vibe, unless she like switches it around and she starts winning shit. I feel like she's just kind of like really just laying low key, and then she thinks that she's like very like strategic and stuff. Like I've said it before, she kind of hops in whenever she needs to, but she doesn't win anything. So I don't know. And I think that's why Sarah Beth was like, I don't think she's gonna go because she's not a threat. Like, if anything, Claire is a bigger threat than Hannah is comp-wise. So if it's between them both, they'd probably get rid of Claire. And it's not just because she's in the cookout or whatever. It's because she's like, whatever. So yeah, I'm just like bored of her. Azal, the same thing. Who is Azal? I don't know. Claire, she's a little bit above, I guess, just because she did play a little bit more strategic this time, which I'm proud of. Derek X was right above her. He came down a little bit just because I'm a little bit disappointed that he was not able to get himself out of that, even though everything was kind of stacked up against him. It does suck, but I feel like maybe he could have done something different. Maybe put a target on someone else. Maybe have like a one-on. I feel like maybe, if anything, maybe this was the time for Derek X to really just open up to Sarah Beth and be like, hey, look, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. Why not try something? But he was being very like, I'm only gonna tell her certain things and blah blah. And it's like, well, you're not. Again, this episode, if I can name it, is just like, who do I trust? Because no one trusts each other, and neither person that really wants to stay here is building that trust to anybody. I don't know if it's because it's too late or because they're over it. Like, I don't know what it is. But Derek X didn't build that trust with Sarah Beth. Didn't try to flip it on someone else. Oh well, sorry, it sucks. Xavier is right above him because same thing. Although I don't know. I feel like Xavier is, yeah, so he's on top 5 now. So I feel like those are the ones that matter, right? Because I had said that Derek X was part of the top 5, but now he got kicked out of the top 5. And so Xavier is now on number 5 because he's playing better than the other ones that I already mentioned. So this make it interesting. So number 4.
I will end this call.
Stop. So number 4 is Sarah Beth.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. Like, seriously, you're just doing this to piss me off. Like, it's just not even cute.
I just wasn't impressed by her HOH. I thought she was going to do so much better. And it just is so disappointing.
Not everybody has a perfect HOH, Josh.
Hers was honestly a train wreck. She's setting herself up to be the target for the next week, which is not smart. I feel like she got a little bit too caught up with being HOH, so she forgot about next week. I literally feel like that's what she is, because when she won, she was all happy. I was happy with her. I was thinking she was going to make like a big move, which she did, but it was a big move for someone else. It wasn't really a big move for her because Derek X was not her immediate target. Like, Derek X was not looking at Sarah Beth and be like, okay, I'm going to target her and get rid of her. At least I didn't see that. And the fact that Sarah Beth for some reason got convinced into thinking that, she's literally doing someone else's work.
If you put Kyland number 1 in the call.
Huh?
If you put Kyland number 1, I'm in the call.
Stop.
I'm gonna be like, I'm done with you.
Anyway, so number 3 is Alyssa, because Alyssa
Fuck me.
Alyssa honestly also disappointed me a little bit this episode. I felt like she just didn't really play it too smart. She put up her biggest ally on the blog without her really intending to. She looked kind of silly. She was just kind of following along with whatever Sarah Beth wanted. And like, it just wasn't a good week for Alyssa. And I feel like she's shaking because now she really feels like she is just kind of like just coasting at this point. Number 2 is Tiffany. I had to put Tiffany up there. I just had to, like, objectively.
You put Kyland number 1 for what? For what?
Because he convinced.
Because he's hot?
No, because he convinced Sarah Beth to target Derek X. That was literally what it is. Like, all of this right here, that's literally Kyland's doing. Like, this was, we even said it before this even happened, that we're concerned that this was going to become Kyland's HOH, and it literally became Kyland's HOH. That's literally what it was. So it sucks, but that's what it is. Tiffany became second.
You just did this because you're like, I need to find a way to upset Adrian on a Zoom call, which is recorded.
No,
And you're like, you know what? I'm going to put his favorite at number 4.
definitely not. Absolutely not. Tiffany was number 2 because she played it really smart. Even though she didn't really get what she wanted per se, she also did kind of, in some way, shape, or form, put like a target on Sarah Beth for next week. So, and the fact that she's not even being looked at, like Sarah Beth, like this is why Sarah Beth is 4th, and this is why Tiffany is 2nd. I feel like if Tiffany was HOH, she would not have wasted any time to get rid of Sarah Beth. Why is Sarah Beth not taking that opportunity? This is where it disappoints me.
Okay, so number 1 is Kyland. Reasoning?
Again, like I said, because he really just controlled his HOH. That's what it is. It has nothing to do with his looks. I mean, it impacts a little bit, but it has nothing to do with the looks.
Okay. I understand. I forgive you.
Anyway, so what's your? I feel like you're changing your.
My number 10. And my number 10, I did not change it. It's already saved in my computer. I really did think about saving it, but I'm not going to do that. My number 10, and it should be no surprise to you, is Tiffany. I feel like at this point, Tiffany is going to stay at the bottom. I do not like her gameplay. I don't like her selfishness. I don't like that she's rude. Tiffany just rubs me the wrong way, all the way around. Just how I feel. Number 9 is Azah. Again, the times that she's on the screen, she has a terrible look on her face. She's negative. I don't like her personality. Gameplay, terrible. Number 8, Derek F. Derek F is lower this time because during the veto competition, he didn't think about saving an ally. He didn't think about saving Xavier. He thought about himself and only made moves in order to get money. Like, I get it. You're there to play a game and win money, but come on, do a different move. Above that is Hannah. Hannah is a place filler at the bottom. I place her where I feel like she should, when there's no other option. I don't have, she has a negative attitude, but that's about it. Xavier is number 6, just because he's part of the Cookout Alliance. I don't like that alliance. I don't like that he was throwing comps. I know that this time he won the veto, but he also didn't make it very strategically in my point of view. I just think it was a dumb move on my end. Number 5 is Kyland. He's also dropping very fast. What keeps him up in the middle is his looks. I'm gonna be straight up and honest. It's the only thing he has going for him right now in my book. Because I don't like what he's doing, Sarah Beth. I honestly don't think he's that much of a strong player yet. Nobody's looking at him. I get that. But I feel like right now nobody's looking at him because the Cookout has other targets. I feel like you place him on the top 3 of strong players within the Cookout. I don't really necessarily think that. I think that when it's time for the Cookout to turn up on each other, they're going to get rid of Azah, Derek, and they're going to get rid of Kyland. I don't really think he's that much of a strong player. Only thing going for him is the fact that he grinds on people, he gives lap dances, and he's good looking. I think that's why he's in the house. Number 4 is Derek X. I do feel bad for him because of the situation that he's in. Unlike you, that says that he could have done better, I think he did all he could. Yeah, he was put against the wall, and you said, I would try to put the target on somebody else. He did that. He tried to put the target up on Hannah. Did not work. He couldn't fight for his safety. He was put up as a backdoor. He didn't get picked for veto. Like, he did everything he possibly could have this week to try to save himself. It just didn't work for him that way. So I do feel bad for him. Number 3, I gave a lot of points to Claire for not being fake. She increased. Number 2 is Alyssa. I like Alyssa. I used to not like her. You convinced me to like her week after week. You convinced me to like her. I do feel again that her waterworks worked on me. I do feel bad for her for putting her ally on the block. I do like that she had the chance to save him and she tried to save him. So that gave me books. I think that she is kind of like a little coaster right now, a little floater, because she doesn't have that many people. But I think that she's doing the best that she can with the position she's in. So that's her reasoning for number 2. Number 1, I did consider moving Sarah Beth down and giving number 1 to Alyssa. Just because I do not like her HOH. She let other people manipulate her. She kind of did it was the equivalent to another cookout member being on the HOH. It ultimately ended in the same way. But every time I see Sarah Beth, I just I like her, and her little comment about BB Bucks in America was funny enough to be like, yep, she got 9 number 1 again.
Yep. I like her still, don't get me wrong. I still want her to win. Like, she's one of the top contenders to win. It's just I base them off of the week and how they performed in the week, and that's why she wasn't the top this time. I feel like I said my picks, I mean, they're not perfect or they're not like based on some type of equation or anything like that. It's just from what I saw, and I'm like, she did not play the best. I was expecting way more on her HOH, and she disappointed.
I agree with you. She didn't do the best. Her HOH was a letdown. I get that, but
yeah. And it's not really like, honestly, like, we'll cut it short, but basically, Sarah Beth, we're in jury arena now. This is not the time to get an HOH to fuck it up. I feel like when you first start the game, okay, you have an HOH, you know who's the target, you don't know anything like that. Okay, people kind of forget about it. But at this point, people are not going to forget who you targeted and all that stuff. Like, it's really getting down to like a very small number of people. And if you fuck up your HOH, then you have to be ready for the consequences.
We also have to look at it. I don't think she thinks she fucked up her HOH. We as viewers know that she did, but I think in her mind, she did the best thing that's best for her.
Right. Yeah, and that's very understandable. I can see that. I mean, everybody has their own mind. I don't know.
It's hard. It's hard us as viewers because we do like her and we see that she's doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. But we also have to think of her. She doesn't see what we see, and it's just hard. If I could jump into the screen and just have like 5 minutes with her, her HOH would have been completely different. But unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Dogs are going crazy.
But yeah. For now, I do have a prediction that I'm gonna say that Xavier is gonna go hard for the HOH nom and for the HOH comp, mm-hmm. and he will become HOH. That's my prediction.
I'm gonna predict. I hate to be like the bad one here, but something tells me that Tiffany's gonna win, and then shit's gonna hit the fan.
Let me just say, I want her to win HOH. I do. Because that's going to be a fantastic week full of drama. And I feel like it's going to put a huge target. Like the huge target that she has on her back is going to light up as soon as she hits HOH. Because she's going to go on a power trip. She's going to rub people the wrong way. People are going to see what she's doing. It's what we need right now if we want her to get evicted. If she never wins HOH, they're not going to look at her. She's going to make it to the end. I don't think she will win. I think she is not, like you said earlier, she doesn't have a good jury management, but she will make it to the end.
We'll see. I really do want her to win though, because like that's gonna be insane. I can already see it. It is gonna be full of drama, and I'm like excited to see it.
Yeah, but so. Actually, the episode we need to get off.
I know. Alrighty. Well, then I guess we'll talk until next time.
Until next time.